Mentioned, well, here's the theme, a thought for the day before I get to ashes. You know, sometimes what we hear is not what has been said. So, you know, you remember, I don't know, maybe only white kids did this game. With telephone, we used to play this game, telephone. Does this cross all? Does everybody? I don't know, you never know. And so telephone, you'd sit in a room with maybe 10 people, and you began with a phrase or a sentence, and you whispered it in the ear next to you. And by the time it came to the end, it got totally butchered, you know. And so because what you said wasn't exactly, I mean, what was heard wasn't exactly said. So you could say it's particularly nasty weather, and by the time it got to the end, it was, you know, tickle my ass with a feather. You know, it's like, how did that happen? You know, because what's said is not, you know, exactly what you hear. Well, you know, no greater silly examples than here at Homeboy when people take phone messages. A lot of you remember Kara, who worked here for 10 years. Well, she has a brother named Hal, a great guy who lives in Boston. And Hal, that's not such a common name, you know, in the radio, let's say. So, so she was out for lunch, and when she came back, she got her phone messages, and it said, because her brother called, and she gets the phone message that says, "Carol, your brother from hell called." You know, well, I don't think that's what he said, probably. Or a famous one around here, where a homie took a message, and I won't say his name, but it rhymes with Gus Mojica, but he, you know, and I got the note, and it said, "Gee, Professor Jones from UC Irvine wants you to speak to his class." And then in big capital letters it said, "You will be constipated." And so I went to him because I feared he might be predicting my future or something, and I was relieved to discover that the good professor had said, "You will be compensated." Well, that's a whole different thing. So what we hear is not what exactly has been said, you know? And so we listen. What is God saying to us? Here's what we hear. Bueno para nada. When will you ever measure up? Can't you do anything right? You are a disappointment to me. That's what we hear. Every human being hears this. What does God actually say? None of the above, none of the above. And did I mention none of the above? We're always thinking that we're hearing the right thing, and that's not exactly ever what God is saying. How do we know this? Well, this happens all the time. Recently, with some texts, a homie texted me, he said, "Because of Homeboy Industries, I finally have a life." And I said, texted him back, "You deserve this and more." And he wrote back, "No, I barely deserve what I have, but I certainly don't deserve more because of my past." That's how we think. Or a homie I met 20 years ago, and I knew him real well, always locked up, a homie from this neighborhood. And finally he walks into my office for the first time. I hadn't seen him in 15 years. And he just breaks down and sobs in my office. Well, I texted him later on, and I said, I can't tell you how grateful I am that we're in each other's life again. And then he texted me and he says, "You've always been the father I never had, and here's the truth. I never stepped foot at Homeboy because I didn't want to disappoint my father." Well, that's what we hear. We think God is expressing his eternal disappointment in us, when in fact what's being said is, "I can't take my eyes off of you. You are the delight of my heart. You are wonderful to me. Who you are is exactly right. Boy, did I get you right." That's what's being said. So today, Mark and I, when we offer ashes, there are two things that you normally say, or you could say. Like, one is, remember that you're dust, and unto dust you shall return. It was a way of reminding ourselves of our own mortality, of the fact that nobody gets out of this alive, and it's a way of focusing the mind for 40 days. And another thing to say is repent and believe. Well, repent just means turn away. Turn away from our old tired ways of seeing things. And believe what? Believe what God sees in you. Repent, turn, and for the next 40 days at least, believe what God sees in you. So,